Hey Weather Warriors, welcome to this edition of State of the Weather Address Weeklies. In this video, we're going to go over the general pattern through December 22nd, and I'm going to pick out big storm systems that could track across the United States. We're going to look at temperature, snowfall, and much more. Before we begin, click the subscribe button below if you want daily, in-depth forecast breakdowns, more in-depth than you would see on TV. And comment below, what's the biggest snow that you've received so far this winter? All right, so the first thing we're going to look at is the upper levels near and below the jet stream. Then we're going to look at the precipitation. So what we're looking at here is generally troughing across the central United States. It's a little bit warm over here in the east, southeastern United States, and you're starting to get some ridging that's going to be building into the west, but that's going to be short-lived because you see this thing. This is going to come in soon here and deliver storms for the west. Now, there is a storm system also out in the plains, and that's going to track into the east coast. I don't think it's going to be too serious, but there could be some ice mix. We'll look at that in a second with this first trough. But some ridging, so some warmth will come in as we head towards Tuesday in the west, but that's going to quickly change. As we head towards Wednesday here, this ridging will start to move quickly to the east. So it's not going to be a prolonged ridge. It's going to be very short-lived. It's going to move towards the east on Wednesday. A little bit of a storm curling up much farther north than Maine with this little wave here. A little bit of cold air behind it as well for the east on Wednesday. There's a little system here that's going to track out into California as we head towards midweek, and then this wave is going to come down and deliver several shots of storms for the northwestern United States for skiers and for folks living in the far northwestern United States. You can see Thursday, and this is going to last through about Sunday. You really want to be kind of in this area right here. Here's your main low pressure system, and really going to want to be on the east side of this little trough here, as several little waves are going to kind of rotate around this thing. Okay, just kind of like a fan. It's going to rotate around there, and it'll keep slamming waves onto the coast. So be on the lookout for that. It's going to warm up a little bit towards mid to late week across the east coast. Now, this trough will be kind of just sitting out there. A thing we're going to have to watch here in the northeastern United States is this little wave down here that kind of develops in the southeastern United States. When this thing swings to the north, there might be at least a warm nor'easter for this portion of the country, obviously in northeast. But the possibility has been flipping back and forth with a little bit of snow, and we'll look at that in a second. Still troughing out here, so still going to be active, and it's going to be warmer towards later in the week in the central United States. That wave moves to the east around Monday, and then that trough finally moves on shore as we head towards midweek next week, but that's getting kind of far out there. So what we'll look at now is the precipitation. Now, we're going to go over here to the precipitation type and rate and zoom in just a bit here into the national view here. Now, one thing we're going to have to watch here is this storm later in the week in the northeastern United States. But first, we're going to look at Monday, and we're going to go day by day across the country here. Now, the first storm we have is this little storm right here. It's not a very strong storm. It's flat. The upper levels don't look particularly impressive. But there is enough cold air hanging around and just enough moisture that's sneaking into this thing in the mid-levels where you could get a little batch of snow within this region right here. The NAM computer model is actually a little bit further north, but I would suspect the best area is going to line up kind of in this area, and your snowfall amounts are generally going to be the heaviest areas in, probably about 3 to 6 inches, maybe an isolated higher amount or so. Rain out ahead of it, but you can see this nice temperature gradient kind of sitting up right in the middle of the country. So your temperature swings are going to be kind of in this area as we head towards early week. It's going to be generally cool up here and generally warm south of that. Your most activity is going to happen right in between. As we head towards Tuesday here, this thing is going to move to the east, and it will deliver some mixed precipitation. There's just not a whole lot of cold air far south enough. I mean, your low is up here, and you really want a high up there. Okay, your high is actually all the way back out here, but there will be a little bit of a shot of cold air, and that could funnel in just a little bit of cold air for some ice and freezing rain in the northeast United States, New York, Pennsylvania, maybe as far east as Connecticut. We'll have to watch that. but that's Tuesday, and you got a nice little front here along the low pressure system. Pretty impressive, long tailish front. So you have some moisture that streams up along it. Like I said, this thing's going to take a little bit to organize, so it's probably not going to be the strongest in the plains. There'll be some snow, but as it moves to the east, it'll gather more moisture, and it will bring a little bit more of a punch to the east coast, particularly with rain. But there will be some cold air. You can see this is the rain to snow line, generally speaking. Maybe up in New York, there could be some snow all the way to the east towards Maine, but nothing serious with this event. It looks kind of flat, but moderate snows nonetheless. As we head towards Wednesday here, this is another little system coming out of Canada, a little clipper system. Now we got plenty of cold air. You can see your 540 line is way off to the south, and it is very far off to that south. That initial storm dragged down a bunch of cold air. So this second little clipper system, we will have a lot of cold air to work with, and it is very cold as you get towards the Great Lakes here. So lake effect snow is going to be coming towards Wednesday, and this system will begin to organize as we head towards Wednesday evening. Right as this thing gets near the shore, we're going to have to watch this because there is warm water sitting off the shore here, and warmer than average too. So not only do you have more moisture, you could have warmer than average water temperatures. And because of that, low pressure systems that kind of get dragged off into the Gulf like this can rapidly intensify. And the GFS is indicating some pretty good development. I mean, you go from about 1,003 millibars to about 993, probably a little bit lower than that, 980. So could have a 20-degree pressure drop off, and you can see, and as a response, you get a nice little band of snow, tail of snow that could curl around. And so I would definitely circle parts of Maine here, southern Maine, as we head towards Wednesday night into Thursday. We're going to want to watch this. If this, if it goes rapid cyclogenesis mode, you might get a nice band of snow that sweeps up into the southern parts of Maine. But usually with these clipper systems, when there's no Gulf coastal low, they're usually pretty fast and progressive. So by the time these things really get organized, they're usually off the coast. So the best snow will probably stay just to the east, but we're going to have to watch the far eastern seaboard of the farthest part of the northeastern United States as we head towards Thursday. Now, the rest of the country, we got a high pressure sitting in, so it's going to be cooler out here as we head towards midweek, but it's going to start warming up again just to the west of this high, where you get some flow coming back out of the southwest or so. And you can see as a response that cold air is being moved to the north just a bit, kind of breezy a little bit. So some breezy southwest winds on the day on Thursday. And then we got this system out here with that troughing I was talking about. There's going to be several systems that move on to the northwestern United States as we head towards later in the week. As you can see Thursday here, around 1 p.m., you get that first wave, plenty of snow in the upper levels, plenty of moisture with this thing. It's going to be kind of sitting out there for a while. So northwestern United States, especially in the ski resort areas, the upper elevations, plenty of moisture for some good snow in that area. Breezy out ahead of this thing, and plenty of precipitation as well. Here's that other storm system we're going to look at in the southern United States as this moves to the east. There's a high pressure sitting out here, and a low pressure system sitting right here. This thing's going to move to the northeast here as we head towards later in the week. Plenty of south winds out ahead of this. And, again, it's just going to be how fast does this thing get organized and bring moisture back to the north. As you can see, as we head towards Saturday here, this low pressure system kind of sits around pretty slow moving. Usually when you get those upper level pieces of energy that kind of randomly develop, kind of randomly cut off and far south, they kind of sit here for a while. So it's not going to be a fast moving system like those clippers are. So you'll have some prolonged rain in the southeastern United States, maybe as far west as the plains, but I think this is going to be a little bit farther to the east where the best rainfall occurs. Your cold front's going to be kind of in that region right there, and then your warm front somewhere in that area. But this is something we're going to have to watch. The issue is your high pressure systems all the way up here. It's kind of a high here, but it's not particularly strong. A lot of warm air out of here, out behind this thing. There's just not a whole lot of cold air sitting around. So because of that, if this thing, isn't as progressive enough, This might be a warm nor'easter again for the northeastern United States, but we'll have to watch this. Here's another wave coming into the plains, or the western United States as we head towards Saturday around 1 p.m. So I think you're going to get about 3 waves later in the week across the western U.S. with a stationary trough like that. You're going to have multiple short waves that rotate around. Obviously, the details will change. The area's location will change, but I do suspect 3 good waves out in the northwestern United States. This is Saturday night now. You can see this low pressure system finally starting to advance to the east. The upper levels are starting to kind of push this thing to the east. You can see a nice cold front, plenty of rain out ahead of it. And again, it's kind of slow moving, and there's plenty of south winds out ahead of this thing. It's going to blow up quite a bit of moisture north of that warm front. And there's going to be a lot of big pool of moisture out here in the east coast here. But like I said, there's just not a whole lot of cold air. Your high pressure systems are just way too far to the north. And I don't suspect this would change dramatically. There would have to be a pretty dramatic shift to get a big cold blast in behind this thing. So the chances for rain are very high for the mid-Atlantic region. The chances for snow do increase as this thing moves to the northeast, as it interacts with a little bit more cold air. You can see that cold air usually with these low pressure systems, and when they strengthen, you want to see this cold air come wrapping down on the backside. You do not see that. In fact, it almost lifts. Okay, there's a low out here and a high out here, and there's southeast winds out here. So there's a lot of ridging happening out here, lots of southwest winds blowing up warmer air out there. This thing is kind of cut off in the jet stream, and there's ridging kind of surrounding it. So there's just not a whole lot of cold air with this system. I'm just not seeing a powerful blizzard nor'easter with this. But nonetheless, when you have something track up that close and that powerful, you definitely have to watch it. I do think there'll be at least a little bit of a mixed precipitation bag as this moves off to the northeast. Here out west, you can see the wave kind of dying out, kind of getting some leftover snow showers and rain. So nothing crazy out there. Low out here. Pretty breezy again on Sunday in the plains with southwest winds or so, southerly winds across the plains. But as you can see, that nor'easter, kind of that warm nor'easter moves to the east. Some models did have this moving a little bit farther north, and if we can get that to occur, and we get enough cold air, there could be the raised potential for some sleet, ice, and maybe even some snow with this system. So this is something we're going to have to watch. Still a few days away, so we'll have to watch that. But you can see plenty of light precipitation out in the west coast as we head towards Sunday and Sunday night. But the activity will start to quiet down, and there's going to be cooler temperatures as we head towards later in the week. But mid to about Saturday and Sunday, that's when the best activity for strong rain, snow amounts, and stuff like that will occur in the northwestern United States. But after this cold air moves in, it'll be lighter snow showers, and it'll start to dry up later in the week or into early next week. This nor'easter, it's maybe more like a mid-Atlantic storm, but just kind of sits out there a little bit. So there's going to be a lot of rain with that thing nonetheless. Slow moving, pretty windy on the backside here. I mean, you got some very strong, tightly packed isobars, but look how warm it is. I mean, your 540 line is all the way up here. Usually with these types of systems, you're going to get them dragged a lot further south. But again, the high pressure is missing out here. You want to hide just to the northwest. It's all the way out here, and there's a low kind of competing with things out here. So the setup definitely has a lot of work to go if you want a nor'easter, but we'll, a blizzard in that case, but we'll definitely watch it. So precipitation amounts before we get into temperatures, really, for the most part, we'll look at the 20, we'll just look at the whole thing here, 120 hours out, and we'll go out to about Monday here. So Sunday night, and you can see this is your precipitation for the next week. Much above average here for the West Coast, particularly Northern California into Western Oregon and Western Washington, where you could have as much as 3 to 6 inches of rain in that area. So very good. Even Southwest California could see some decent rain amounts, 1/4 inch in some areas. And obviously, as you get farther north, much more. With that cutoff low, there's going to be plenty of precipitation in the southeastern United States out to the mid-Atlantic region. This area up here, I know there's not a lot of precipitation, but this is the biggest uncertainty. There's a couple of factors. That early storm, that little clipper that moves through, if it can intensify a little bit more, you would see more precipitation out here towards Maine and, maybe as far south into the west as New York. And then obviously that cutoff low, if that can move a little bit farther to the north into the cooler air, that would obviously enhance precipitation totals as well. But with these cutoff lows, they kind of dingle around a little bit. And because of that, slow moving, you're going to get about 1 to 3 inches in some areas, especially the Carolinas. Carolinas has consistently hit that area with this storm that I've been looking at. So Carolinas will get a good dose of precipitation this week with this system. The plains generally dry. The main track's going to be off to the southeast and to the northwest, so pretty dry, but you'll have some areas of temperature swings in the Midwest and pretty breezy for the most part. Snowfall amounts, not anything substantial except for the northwestern United States, where several inches could fall in that region. And you can see here, this is just the GFS. The things that are going to change are, like I said, that late week storm. So that thing's going to change quite a bit between now and then. So the snowfall amounts with that system, if you remember, the track goes through that area. Again, I'm thinking it's going to be mostly rain, but because that storm does move through that area, we will have to watch that later in the week for any enhanced snowfall potential. The storm earlier in this week is more set within this area, and that really could deliver a moderate amount of snow, nothing significant unless you live right along the lakes. So you're going to get that storm that moves to the northeast and delivers generally 3 to 6 inches in the core of the snow event. But the second wave that moves through, that little clipper, that could deliver a punch for the lake effect snow regions in the northeastern United States. So you had that first storm, then you had the lake effect snow / clipper event kind of midweek that could enhance totals just near the lakes, maybe as much as 6 to 12 inches. So right along the lakes, pretty good. But as you look in this area here, that's the area we're going to want to watch with that clipper system. And it is indicating, about 3 to 6 inches. Some areas, like I said, along southern Maine, where that strengthening occurs, could have 6 to 8 inches or more. Again, we're going to have to really watch that. Sometimes those things will go pretty nuts. Northwestern United States out into California, you're talking feet of snow, mostly in the mountains. We're looking at a foot or so at maximum amounts, but some areas in the northwestern United States, we're talking Idaho, Oregon, Washington, and California here in the upper elevations could see 2, 3, even 4 feet of snow, because the waves, that trough's going to be kind of sitting out here. The waves are going to be strongest right immediately along and just to the east of the coast. So the closer to the coast you go, the better. There's going to be a lot of ridging in the western or the central United States, and that's going to lower the snow amounts for Montana, Wyoming, Colorado. So not going to be as bad in this region. It's going to be probably the best snow amount. It's going to be farther closer to the coast, where that stationary troughing is throughout this week. Temperatures across the United States for the next week, for the most part, we're going to look at the anomalies, and then we'll look at temperatures. So the anomalies aren't terribly cold this week, but there are some shots. And, you can see Monday here. It's going to be very warm in the southeastern United States. Temperatures 10 to 20 degrees above average on Monday. Cooler in the northern half. And behind that system, you could have some cool air in the northern plains. Nothing terrible. As we head towards Wednesday, there is a cold shot in the northern plains. It's not going to be widespread with this type of pattern, but far northern U.S. could see 10, 20, 30 degrees below average. Everywhere else, just kind of generally cool, about 3 or 4 degrees below average across the rest of the United States. As we head towards Wednesday here, that's going to finally move to the east, so it's going to cool down in the East Coast on Wednesday. The west and central U.S. going to kind of average out for the most part, some areas above average. Thursday and Friday, you see how that warm air is starting to move in now, and it's going to be warm out into the west coast. Okay, but we're talking upper elevations for the snowfall. So even if it's 10 degrees above average, still going to be very cold in the mountains to support snow. That midweek storm or that late week storm system that goes up the east coast is not a whole lot of cold air to work with. Temperatures almost even above average behind that thing. So as you head towards Saturday and into Sunday, really above average for much of the country. So it's going to start warming up a little bit towards later in the week for much of the country, but nonetheless, lots of precipitation in the northwestern and southeastern United States for the most part. Temperatures, for the most part, are going to be cool to start off the week and then start to warm up later in the week. So as we get towards Monday here, if this is going to load, as we head towards Monday, your coldest air is going to happen early in the week here. You can see a cold front, obviously, with that system moving to the south. And as we head towards Tuesday, that cold air kind of dies out. Here's a cold front down here. Temperatures on Tuesday, generally speaking, in the northwestern or north central United States, going to be in the negatives, okay? Single digits and negatives for the northwestern United States. There's that little clipper system, and behind that, that's where your coldest air is going to be. Farther south, it's going to be cool, 40s and 50s behind that front. As we head towards Wednesday afternoon, going to be very cold in the northeastern United States through the Midwest behind that clipper system. But you see the south winds now are going to start coming back up later in the week, and it's going to kind of warm up as we head towards Thursday. Temperatures in the plains, 40s, 50s, and it's going to get even warmer. And Saturday or Friday, could even be dealing with 70s in parts of Texas, 80s, 70s in Florida. Midwest is going to be kind of warm too, but 30s and 40s. And then obviously behind that, a little bit cooler. But watch what happens as we get towards Sunday. Pretty warm, even behind that system. You can see temperatures in the 40s all around the system, 50s for parts of Georgia. And then obviously warming back up in the plains again Sunday. So Sunday, really, the whole week here in the plains, you're going to get some temperature swings, particularly in Nebraska, Iowa. And you get some breezy conditions out ahead of these low pressure systems to the west and kind of behind these systems as well. So it's going to be kind of breezy temperature swings for the central United States. So that's generally looking at the week ahead. If you like these videos, subscribe, comment below how much snow you have. Let me know of any thoughts and ideas for these videos. We'll keep making them. And I'll make some more videos if I see anything change with the northwestern United States and eastern United States with these storm systems we have coming up this week. So hope you guys have a great day. Enjoy the forecast, enjoy the weather, and we'll see you soon.